I believe we're back.
Are we live?
Yes.
Well, hit the start.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't hit the start. Hit the, the show intro thing, the thing we like to do, the thing.
Here you go.
And when they went to the queen to tell her her subjects had no bread, do you know what she said?
Let them eat cake.
Who took the bomb?
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people. Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode of the Peasants Perspective. Already did a little teaser stream this morning.
Yeah.
So hopefully
Good job, Taylor.
Hopefully everybody comes over and joins us anew in our official morning stream. Just a few minutes late. No
So I gotta throw up my excuses, my excuse cone. So, everybody knows what happened yesterday, and I had to kind of ignore it. So, because yesterday was my kid's 16th birthday, and I can't be Charlie Kirk downer at a birthday party. So I have this birthday party, and then afterwards, man, it was so late. I went to bed, and this morning, I don't know, man, I just didn't want to get up. I kind of already knew what the show was going to be, and maybe I just didn't want to face reality. I don't know, but for some reason I slept in, so I apologize, peeps.
It's all right. I got here early, so we're good. We balanced out.
Yeah.
It's an offset set off. It's no big deal.
Yeah, you're just telling me you woke up at like 4.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So my kids, right? Like, I remember this parenting book that I read when I had one kid. And it was like, you can't control when your kids go to sleep oftentimes. They fight you, right? Brush your teeth and they want a snack and they got to brush your teeth again. Can you tuck me in? I got out of bed. Can you tuck me in again? We're pretty like putting kids to bed. Anybody who's had little kids, every now and then you have an easy sleeper, but usually it's kind of like, a 12-year struggle.
Yeah. So our second kid was one of those like easy sleepers. It was like, whoa, what is going on?
Yeah, exactly. My first kid would not go to sleep. Yeah. He's a night owl. My second kid was an easy sleeper. It was like, time to go to bed. He's like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
But all the rest of my kids have been hard sleepers. They've been night owls. And so this parenting book said you can't control always when they go to sleep, but you can control when they wake up. And kids only are going to have so much fuel in the gas tank. They're 12-hour kids. But if you let your kids stay up late and then they sleep in, and they sleep until 9 or 10, we homeschool, so that's a possibility, then their 12-hour clock, they're not really ready for bed till 10 o'clock at night, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always like, wake them up early, wake them up at 7, wake them up at 6, then they'll be tired. Well,
man, you sound like me.
But I'm the one, I've been the one who's been waking up, 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning for this podcast or for work, because I'd commute an hour and a half to work for the most part, which is also why we did the podcast so stinking early, because I still had to account for a commute and an 8-hour day at work. Because I'm a peasant. And anyway, so I'm like, just wake them up. Do you want me just to like turn on all the lights and wake the whole house up? Like everybody will go to bed at 8 p.m. like I like to.
Yeah. And I'm no stranger to getting up early. I mean, I used to do commercial fishing. The gun goes off at 5:30.
Yeah. So you're going. Anyways, I love being an early riser. It makes the day more productive. In fact, I've even considered starting this show earlier.
Yeah.
Let's just have it done and uploaded by 6 a.m. Okay, so in the news, before we get to the Charlie Kirk news, because it was very, very devastating last night.
Yeah.
So before we get into that,
all right,
a couple things. Epstein fallout. Yesterday, the United Kingdom dismissed their recently appointed ambassador, Lord Mandelson, over Epstein links. Ooh. So this Lord Mandelson, they released this birthday book that Epstein have, and everybody's Trump, 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 Trump. Turns out this UK ambassador put one in there calling Epstein his best friend. He called him my best pal. So it's a little embarrassing. The idea that Keir Starmer, the current prime minister, this comes from the National Pulse, the idea that Keir Starmer, the current prime minister, would shove somebody like Lord Mandelson into the embassy in D.C. and expect him to be taken seriously is a great affront to President Trump. It's a great affront to the American public and what they voted for. Pretty interesting. It shows deep disconnect between Britain with America right now, and I'm frankly embarrassed about it, and apologetic actually to all of you about that. So pretty interesting. I mean, yesterday, one of the things we mentioned is the fallout from this Epstein stuff is potentially global, right?
Oh, yeah.
We were listening to a thing yesterday about how connected Epstein was to the former prime minister of Israel. You've got this UK ambassador. Obviously, Trump may or may not have put a little note in his birthday book. Bill Clinton had a note in there, right? That's all being overshadowed by the Trump. But this is significant enough that United Kingdom removed their appointed ambassador to the United States because of just having a letter in that book. Poof. So yes, powerful people could come down. Even little things like this is a big deal, right? It's a big deal. And it just happened quietly yesterday because, we were completely distracted with everything else that was going on in the news cycle. Totally reasonable. Chuck Schumer got asked a question why it is that the Democrats are so focused on the Epstein list and the Epstein files now when they've been in power for 12 out of the last 16 years, right? Where have you been on this? And Chuck Schumer said it quite frankly. Oh, it's because it looks like they're lying, so now we care. So you don't actually care about the victims. You don't actually care about justice or going after the bad people. This is purely about going after the administration because they might be doing something untoward. Oh, the political leverage you can gain, Chuck.
Democrats and the DOJ for years and never asked for this. Why now? Why didn't you do it then?
It's become so apparent that they're lying about it in every different way, and the demands of the American people are so great. And you had all the different people come down and testify and this and that. The need is greater than ever now. Yes.
Oh, okay. So, now that there's a need and the American people have wanted it, and now, I'm pretty sure I became aware of Epstein and vis-a-vis Bill Clinton, right? And I'm pretty sure there was quite a bit of clamoring for some release of information for a long time. Totally disingenuous. It just goes to show this is a political game that they're playing. They're trying to use it for leverage against Trump, and they're trying to mitigate and manage the fallout. I just see it as exactly that. Carlitos, good morning. Pony Boy says, time to take action. Okay. That time to take action. It's time to go door knocking. That's the action we want to get involved in your local Republican grassroots party. We're not going to take any action beyond that. You're not going to hear that coming out of my mouth. Okay. Carlitos, good morning again. Pony Boy also says, I don't know what helps algorithms, but I use hashtags. Hashtag real, hashtag news, hashtag conservative, hashtag Charlie Kirk, hashtag 9/11. Yes, please. When you put comments in there, if you put hashtags, it does help. But please do. You guys, we rely on you to help grow the show. Okay, so that was going on yesterday with Chuck Schumer admitting that. And I mentioned this yesterday with Robert Kennedy Jr. with regards to advertisements for pharmaceuticals. So here's the clip that I missed yesterday, and I had a different clip, but I did want to play this because as RFK Jr. explains here, this is really significant. In the big picture of things, and this is kind of what I want to paint here with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk created an absolute movement with the younger generation, and it became something that was indomitable, it was ever present, and it touched anybody in the college sphere. There's almost no one in the college realm that wasn't affected by Charlie Kirk. And in my personal experience, I saw that it reached up into the parents of college-age kids. I have in-laws that are older than I am, right? Not my, I guess they're my brothers and sisters-in-laws, that I remember a couple of years ago, they're like, oh, we really like Turning Point and Charlie Kirk. And I'm like, why would you guys be paying attention to the college campus guy? But I realized it's because they have kids at that age. Yeah. And so they were paying attention to what their kids were paying attention to. And they used Charlie Kirk as a way to send clips to their kids. Hey, look, consider this. Right. It was Charlie Kirk was a way for them to counterbalance and counteract the indoctrination their kids were getting in public schools.
I think that it was also exactly that. And it was something that Charlie was not afraid to talk about. He was quick to embrace discussion about morality, which is something that a lot of people don't want to talk about.
Yep.
And he was not afraid to talk about any topic. And he would confront and talk to you like you were a real person.
Yeah.
and a lot of people forget that he was only 31.
I know. And he started doing this when he was straight up 18.
Right. And so that's why he connected with the younger generation.
He was
and,
them.
And the topics that he covered is why he connected with the older generations.
Yes. Yes. So this has to do with the pharmaceutical industry. And one of the things that was great about Charlie Kirk was he clarified the MAGA doctrine. He's the one who wrote the book, The MAGA Doctrine. And he's the one who took all the stuff that President Trump would say at rallies and he consolidated it and made it into a coherent political ideology. And it included things like going after big pharma. That's, again, it was a populist position. And that's very scary because populism is usually dominated by socialists and Bolsheviks and stuff like that. So when you have a conservative populism, that is terrifying for governments and people who are collectivists and stuff like that, right? It's very bad for central planners. And so anyways, it touches everything. The MAGA doctrine has taken over the Trump administration and the conservative movement in general. The traditional Republican movement is functionally dead, right? So this is RFK talking about pharmaceutical industries and medicines being advertised on TV.
Junior, Mr. Secretary, thanks for the time.
Thank you for having me.
The president just signed an executive order making some news here when it comes to pharmaceutical ads.
The president just signed an executive order that's an historic change in the way that pharmaceutical advertising is done on television. And the order basically reinstates or gives us now the opportunity to reinstate the 1997 rules. Prior to 1997, pharmaceutical advertisers were required to put all the side effects on their ads. Many of them didn't advertise because it lengthened because of what it did to the length of the advertising. And that the removal of that requirement in 1997, FDA changed the rule to allow them to report the side effects on a website or on a telephone. And they only had to report a few of them on television. That triggered a proliferation of these ads. There's only 2 countries in the world that allowed direct-to-consumer advertising by pharmaceutical companies on television. Or one of those countries, New Zealand is the other. It's had a disastrous impact on human health, on people's relationships with their doctors, and really on the entire gestalt where Americans are led to believe that there's a pill for every ill and that you don't have to exercise, you don't have to pay attention to your diet. Whatever goes wrong with you, you can fix with a drug.
So how much does this change the dynamic for pharmaceutical companies that have been advertising on all kinds of channels and even online? They're going to have to do a lot more specifically.
They're going to have to report all their side effects. In some cases, that might create an advertisement that's 4 minutes long. Back prior to 1997, advertising in magazines had page after page after side effects reported. And so we don't know exactly what it will do, but we know it's going to be better for the health of Americans.
It's significant. Meantime, you have this Make Our Children Healthy Again.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we're going to start seeing 4-minute commercials.
I think what they're going to do is just go, could cause death.
And everything from side effects could include everything from complete and total healing to death.
Yeah. That about covers it.
And all the diarrhea and shingles you can have in between. It's, I just look at this as these guys are going after industries that have been so dominant that it's been presumed that you have to work with them and can't work against them. It's impressive, man.
Yeah, enough of that.
Huh?
Enough of that.
Enough of that. Yeah, it's impressive. Yeah. So CNN, the other thing. So this is the other huge news that happened yesterday prior to Charlie being assassinated, which, again, it's like this huge cloud that kind of hangs over the day. And I believe that good will come of this. It's devastating for Charlie's family.
Yes.
I mean, the sympathy is huge here. But I think it'll be like many other political assassinations, Martin Luther King Jr., this will solidify his place in history.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
He won't just be a player in it. He'll be a milestone in whatever it is we're going through as a country. It'll be a moment in time where people go, well, that's where the conservatives found their mettle. right? It wasn't January 6th, wasn't all these other things. Those were all just these lead up to this. But this was the moment where hopefully conservatives say no more.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday, CNN was forced to admit that Donald Trump's economy is actually doing a lot better than expected. And maybe Biden's economy wasn't as good as the liars on mainstream media were telling us.
Tonight, did Donald Trump inherit a weaker economy than everyone thought? Well, a revised labor report shows that the economy added nearly 1 million fewer jobs than initially estimated for that year ending in March. Now, that is the biggest revision since 2009. Tonight, did Donald Trump inherit a weaker economy?
They had a huge revision, bigger than anything since 2009, which, when you hear them saying biggest revision since 2019 or 2020, that's 4 or 5 years ago. 2009. That's
15 years ago.
15 years ago was the biggest revision. Wow. And if you remember 2009, what was going on? That was like year 1.5 of the Great Recession.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they did overestimate jobs, probably to tell you so you wouldn't know how bad the Great Recession was.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Totally crazy. And the other thing, too, was not only were the labor numbers adjusted, which then makes Donald Trump's economy even stronger looking, because simultaneously yesterday, we found out that inflation is down.
Hey, and they moved the market. Dow went from negative to positive. Here you go. This is what prices that wholesalers pay to get their goods for August unexpectedly fell negative 0.1% for the month of August, month over month. And at the core level, stripping out volatile food and energy prices, also surprisingly fell 0.1%. The expectation for both of those was 0.3. Year over year, PPI coming in at 2.6%. 2.6%, major drop from 3.3%, which was the expectation, also the same number as July. That was the highest since February. That goes down to 2.6%. So in terms of the inflation story, where is the tariff-induced inflation? Where is the inflation right now in the economy? What will the Fed do? Of course, we get CPI tomorrow when they make their decision on interest rates 1 week from today. Is the job market weakness more important? How big will that cut be?
Adam Johnson, you're on set with me. You had quite a reaction to this number. And Lauren pointing out, look at the market. Market turned around.
I've been fist pumping and people couldn't see me doing it, but I'm doing it now. This is fantastic news. Producer prices much lower than we thought. So I actually, as it turns out, am wrong, and I'm thrilled I'm wrong, because I thought we were going to see some of the inflation data, or rather some of the tariff impact in this inflation data. We haven't seen it. 2.6% was the PPI. We thought it was going to be 3.3. Cheryl, this is just such wonderful news. I'm thrilled. And it also means, we're getting a rate cut in a week.
And Tomas, I said this to you last week. I wonder if you're going to get a half a point cut. This is if Jerome Powell says he's data dependent, he keeps saying that. Here's the data, Tomas. Here it is.
Yeah, I predict no rate cut. And I predict Lisa Cook votes. We're independent. We're not even American. We're federal. We're Federal Reserve for the world.
So I tend to believe that these numbers are all still cooked.
Of course they are.
And they just can't figure out how to make them say that Trump's bad. And I think it's so funny when they're like, we're going to argue about 0.2 of whatever bullshit numbers for 5 minutes. And then all of a sudden to figure out, fist pump, yeah. Well, whatever.
So the Fed, right, allegedly is trying to keep inflation at 2%. Total scam, by the way. And employment, I don't know what percent they're targeting, but they're targeting low unemployment. So if unemployment goes up, then what they do is they lower rates, which increases inflation, but that creates velocity of money, which people then get hired, brings, jobs, unemployment down. And then when unemployment's really low, then they're like, since everybody's working, they can just, we can raise interest rates and stop the spending. And they're kind of doing this game. So now you have a situation where inflation's low and unemployment's really low. Right.
And so all their bullcrap numbers don't work anymore.
They don't work anymore. If you create inflation, then you might have more jobs, but you're going to have
Well, this is what happens when you argue over 0.2 or 0.4% when you should be, not even talking in the realm of 2 point anything. You should be at like 17%.
17%?
Yeah.
For what number?
For CPI, for your inflation.
The consumer price index to be 17%?
That's what the real number is.
Year over year?
Dude.
I know when Biden was in office and we had a 9% year, that was probably a 20+% inflation year for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think inflation's like double what the government says it is. It's like
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I'm trying to say.
No,
not that it's a particular number like 17, but that it is nowhere near 2 point anything.
Oh yeah, no, I believe it's in fact, gold has gone up 50% in 3 years.
Yeah. Exactly.
50%. No, 100%. It's doubled in 3 years.
Whatever it is, it's a lot.
It's a huge. It's like,
and it's nowhere near
alarm bells.
Single digit of any kind.
Yeah, exactly. So this is CNBC Charlie Kirk from Wells Fargo.
In our own data, things are remarkably stable. I mean, we look at, I know you guys have talked about it this morning and other times, consumer spend continues at the same year-over-year pace across almost all wealth levels. Consumer credit is as good as it's been in the last 6 months. In fact, it's probably trending a touch better. Companies are in really great shape. We look at signs for any kind of change, and you just don't see it. Having said that, there is this big dichotomy between higher income and lower income consumers, which continues and is a real issue. And when you look at just the overall data in terms of jobs, it's undeniable in terms of just job creation. So, yeah, things are actually feel very good today, certainly relative to what you think they could be. In our own data.
That's pretty good.
Well, I don't disagree with that last statement.
Or what they could be, yeah.
I love how he's like, oh, everything's good on our end. We cook our numbers good.
Yeah. Okay. So the economy seems to be doing well. In a week, hopefully we get a pretty significant rate cut. A random independent says, good morning, cuties. Rest in peace, Kirk. Yes, rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. And welcome back on YouTube. He's chatting in there. Yeah, it was a very sad day for the conservative movement in general. And I think it was a bad day for America in overall. It wouldn't have mattered. If they would have assassinated Charlemagne the God, it would have been devastating as well. Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, why? Just because you want to. I can't deny the fact that when I saw what happened to Charlie Kirk, I looked into a mirror a little bit. We put ourselves out there. Mm-hmm. We're talking about these topics. We don't think we're controversial, but a random independent might occasionally think we are, right? And so
it triggered my wife. It was triggering.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't help when you've got people like Jasmine Crockett, right, newly appointed member of the reformed J6 committee, getting out there and talking like this.
And if you really want to know who the criminals are in this country, you can Google it. You don't have to trust me. But the people that commit 80% of the most violent crimes in this country are white supremacists. Yet for whatever reason, they sit and they serve at the pleasure of the president. They are the ones that were there on January 6th, tearing our democracy down physically. And now we have them tearing us down right here from within, Mrs. And
so January 6ers are white supremacists. They're inside of the White House, and 80% of all crime is caused by white supremacists.
Okay.
I got to admit to you, I never met a white supremacist till I got into prison. And when I was in prison, there was a Vice documentary on TV, on the white person TV, that the blacks, the Mexicans, and the whites were all watching and tuning into their radios. And it was a Vice thing, and it was some former FBI agent that investigated white supremacy crimes. Oh. And he was basically saying white supremacy doesn't exist outside of the prisons, and that all their stats for white supremacy crimes are coming out of prisons. Because guess what? If you stab a man in prison, you still get indicted by the prosecutor. It counts as a stat. Okay. So you do have violent white supremacy crime, but it's exclusively inside the walls of prisons, which, by the way, is where you have institutional segregation and empowerment of racist ideologies to keep the prison population divided against itself and not against the guards. So, Jasmine Crockett, I would like to meet some of these true white supremacists on the outside. Or are you just saying every crime committed by a white guy in a trailer park is white supremacy?
Automatically.
And, of course, you loop in all the January 6ers, making it sound like we're all white supremacists. And I take a little bit of offense to that. And then there's this. This is the Wisconsin election worker. She was convicted, I think it was yesterday. Election director convicted after ordering fake military ballots. So she was an election worker in Wisconsin. She ordered up some fake military ballots with fake names. Milwaukee's deputy elections director, Kimberly Kimberly Zapata, was convicted for ordering fake military ballots under false names to a lawmaker's home. Whoa, hold on a second.
Whoa.
She's an election worker, and she ordered fake military ballots and had them sent to a lawmaker's home. Okay. She's been convicted now of having those fake ballots made. She claimed it was to highlight a loophole, but the law is clear. She broke it. A jury found her guilty of felony misconduct and misdemeanor, sentencing her to probation and fines. In order to show that the election apparatus was broken and that fake ballots could be made and sent out and then eventually be counted, she had faked some ballots and sent them to a lawmaker's home as proof and evidence. And they said, oh, you faked ballots, you go to prison. What about the fact that that disenfranchises voters, that there's even a loophole? Didn't she just do her duty to expose it to someone who could do something about it? A lawmaker?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Okay. This goes along with the theme we're going to hear from Jesse Kelly here in just a moment. Things are a problem. Okay. This is Jesse Kelly talking about the Bolsheviks. Oh, now I got to find this clip. Apparently it got pushed into the back of the show. This is Jesse Kelly, who happens to be Megyn Kelly's brother. I don't know if you do that or not.
Oh, no.
Yeah, quite the family of influencers. So this is Jesse Kelly talking about how Democrats, they're not just soft on crime. They're actually pro-crime. Right. So in a situation like this woman is pointing out a larger crime, a crime of sedition, tyranny, stealing a vote. You want to talk about there being an ability to, influence a democracy, inappropriately, faking ballots. So here's an election worker saying, hey, look, here's some fake ballots. This is a serious loophole. Anybody could just go online and do this. Oh, you got to go to prison. You want to know why? It's because we basically have Bolsheviks or collectivists running this place. And this is what happens.
The Bolsheviks didn't just open up the prisons and let all the murderers and rapists out. That was step one. Step two was they then installed judges. They created a judicial system that offered protection to the street animals so they could continue to rape and murder and steal from people, thus creating more instability and helping them consolidate power. Democrats are not soft on crime. Democrats are not soft on crime. Democrats are not soft on crime. Stop using that word, that term. They are pro-rape. They are pro-murder. When some monster they let out of prison goes on to do something else monstrous, none of them are sitting around saying, whoa, I can't believe it. What a shock. I thought he'd turned his life around. It turns out he was going to get arrested a 15th time. They turn him loose because they know the animal's going to go do animal things. They know the rabid dog is going to bite again. That's why they turn him loose onto your street, onto your bus, your sidewalk, standing out in front of your home. Democrats put these people into your area as fast as they possibly can because they want people murdered and robbed and raped. It is hard for normal people with good hearts and a value system of any kind to understand the level of evil and depravity of the communist. This is something every society has struggled with. Every society that has come up against the communist revolution, the thing that holds them back the most is trying to understand what they don't mean to do that, right? It's wild when you read about it. Everywhere it took place. Hold on, they're not doing that on purpose, right? What they would never do this, right? Yes, they will. And yes, they do. Once again, I'm pleading before we continue. I'm begging. Stop saying soft on crime. That's not what you're dealing with here. You're not dealing with naivete. You're dealing with evil. Accept it.
So instead of treating that election worker like, a whistleblower or someone who's exposing a bigger problem in the system, they prosecuted her for paperwork crimes, meanwhile overlooking the obvious fact that there's a hole in the system. Or it's fundamental to our democracy. And
go ahead and throw her in jail, but also look into the thing.
Look into the thing. Now, Charlie Kirk, he mentions this. He says, this is what we're up against, right? This is the fight of the future. And I agree with him completely. I've said these same things. We talk about this ad nauseum. This is the entire point, what Charlie Kirk's about to mention. It's the entire premise of books like Ayn Rand, right? It's the entire premise of what I come on here and I talk about being anti-collectivist. Collectivism takes a lot of forms: socialism, communism, fascism, anywhere where it's us, right? Us and some solid group. It's like, no, I don't want to do the collectivism thing. I want to do me. I want a rising tide raises all boats, right? But if I'm successful, then I can project my success outwards to the people in my sphere. If you're successful, you project out. Collectivism says none of us are successful, so let's all pitch in a buck. You know what I mean? Like, it's broken, and they don't create anything. Charlie Kirk understood this clearly, and again, this is one of the reasons why he was targeted, but it's also why he was so effective.
Spiritual battle is coming to the West, and the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go after what we call the American way of life. And the American way of life is very simple. I want to be able to get married, buy a home, have kids, allow them to ride their bike till the sun goes down, send them to a good school, have a low crime neighborhood, not to have my kid be taught the lesbian, gay, transgender garbage in their school, while also not having them have to hear the Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day.
Which, by the way, when I was in prison, I had to hear the Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day, starting at 4:40 a.m. or whatever. It's not very fun.
It's important. We want the American way of life, which is, by the way, Christendom. Christians, our sacrifice, our toil, our vision, the outgrowth of the scriptures gave us Western civilization. And this is where I think is a great rallying cry. Doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, doesn't matter if you're Asian, doesn't matter if you're black or white. Everybody, if you are Christian and Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, these two threats are combining forces to come after us. And it's time that the church stands and rises up against it.
Yep. So in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, this is kind of the theme. I mean, even Chris Matthews said this. He talks about how we're at war.
Like we're in a war right now to save this country. And so you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save the country.
Who's Chris Matthews? He's a Democrat senator. Is he fighting on our side, or is this kind of what Jesse Kelly says, where it's like, you just can't understand these people, right? Like, why are they doing it this way? Okay, so we're all saying we're at some kind of war, okay, and people got to do things. Why aren't we working together against the Islam collectivists there? Aren't we America, the capitalists, the pro-democracy? Murphy, what side are you on? Who are you fighting against? Okay, I get it. Political rhetoric. I've used the phrase, we're at war. I've even walked away from the Capitol after January 6th saying I thought Ashley Babbitt's death was the first death in this civil war, as history will tell it. I don't know that I'm wrong. Now, Dan Goldman gets on with Anderson Cooper, and he's like, oh, no, we're not at war. But this is in direct contradiction to what Senator Murphy said.
From some in the sort of far right, podcasting sphere who make money off this kind of rhetoric. They're talking about war. That there's a war targeting conservatives.
That is incredibly dangerous. And I hope these far right podcasters come to their senses and recognize that this is not war.
Like we're in a war right now to save this country, and so you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save the country.
A random independent says, collectivism is a bad thing. 2 minutes before you play a video of Charlie Kirk talking about collectivism, supporting collectivism. No, you don't understand collectivism. We don't agree on at all what we're talking about. A random independent, you don't know my definition for collectivism, Den. I just go straight from what Ayn Rand describes it as, and basically, you need my stuff to survive. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's all collectivism is. If you need something from me to survive, and it goes beyond my charity, as in my voluntarily giving it, if you have to take something from me at the barrel of a gun and tell me, sacrifice for the greater good, you're a collectivist. And I don't care if you're coming out of a church building or if you're coming out of a government building. If you're trying to take something from me by force that's not voluntary, by voluntary consent, out of the goodness of my heart, then you're being a collectivist. You're saying sacrifice of yourself for the greater good, but you can't define the greater good, right? The collectivist would take out Elon to redistribute his wealth, thereby choking us off from future space travel, right? It's classic. Collectivists will kill the golden goose. Go read the book Animal Farm. What happens when the Clydesdale finally dies? The guy who did most of the hard labor around the farm. The whole thing goes to boop in a handbasket real fast, right? When the workers stop working and they stop saying, I want to earn my paycheck, and they just want to put their hand out and get their paycheck, game over. So if you define collectivism as something other than that, I'm not a nationalist, a random independent. I'm not a nationalist at all. In fact, I make clear distinction between the country, the land and her people, and the nation, the corporation. I am not a nationalist. So again, listen to more shows so you can get the nuance. Okay, so this is Nicole Wallace talking about, again, how it's only the right that's violent. It's only the right.
Permission structure for violence. You've got polls about political violence. Democrats don't think it's a good idea. Only Republicans, only people inclined to consume conservative media are now, I think, upward of 50% say that if necessary, violence is okay. You've only got the conduct on one of the two sides. The permission structure for
2020 was all right-wing riots, right? 2020, all the billions and billions of dollars of damage, the 20-something people that were directly killed in the riots, all just nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with an ideology. Mostly peaceful, right? Not supporting violence in any way. Oh, no. Right? No, I don't even... some of these polls they show, it's like they're reactionary polls, like, the way they question it. If this happens, then what? Well, I mean, we're children of a revolution. I guess violence is the answer if they put a king up again. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not what they're talking about, Nicole Wallace. We're talking about violence in the street. Conservatives don't generally support that. Right? Conservatives don't want to throw the first punch. That's the whole point. They want to talk it out. And this is what made Charlie Kirk's assassination so sad, was you could disagree with his opinions, but he wanted to talk. He's like, in fact, that was his whole thing. The moment we stop talking, the moment we start going violent. And that's something that I see. The Republicans consistently want to talk. They want to debate. They want to come to your college campus. They want to invite you in. Do you see Democrats doing that? Listen to the conservative podcasters like Tim Pool, who traditionally were considered far left. Like, my dad would have hated Tim Pool 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't even get a liberal to come on the podcast, and they invite him all the time. Why? Because their freaking ideas don't always make sense. And they have to support stupid stuff like this. This is J.B. Pritzker talking about this assassination, and he ties it into January 6th.
Sympathy to Charlie Kirk's family and to Charlie Kirk, who obviously has, become a target for somebody. I don't know whether it's political violence because I don't know who did it. I know they seem to have some.
If you assassinate a man while he's talking to thousands of people, who is his entire life, his entire career is essentially one big political narrative, and you go, well, I don't know who was political. Well, no one's accusing Charlie Kirk of sleeping with someone else's wife, and this was a revenge killing. Okay, this was clearly politically motivated.
Custody. But I will say that political violence, unfortunately, has been ratcheting up in this country. We saw the shootings, the killings in Minnesota. We've seen other political violence
of a left-winger
occur in other states. And I would just say it's got to stop. And I think there are people who are fomenting it in this country. I think the president's rhetoric often foments it. We've seen the January 6th rioters who clearly, have tripped a new era of political violence.
Oh, a new era. Okay, so 2020, the summer of, never happened. Chaz, just across the street over there, that never happened. Okay, yeah, no, I mean, it's a new era of political violence. Oh, dude, that's not the case. It's not the case. Yes. Or is there some random weird extremists on the far right? Which, by the way, the political spectrum, right? You go too far right, too far left, you end up back at the bottom, and just with totalitarian and dictatorship. So if you're so far right, you're Ku Klux Klan, you've basically come back over. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, the right doesn't own the Ku Klux Klan. That's clearly a creation of the left. But the idea that Ku Klux Klanners are now somehow far right, they're white supremacists. No. Okay. All right. And by the way, fascism and a random independent, you said, I never called you a nationalist. I said nationalism and religion are both collectivism and the two main ideologies on the right. Okay, religion, you can't even have in that conversation. Religion is diverse. There are some religions that are collectivist. There are some that are not. That doesn't count. Both collectivism are the two main both collectivism and the two main ideologies on the right. Okay, so nationalism doesn't have to be collectivism at all. Doesn't have to be. I'm not a nationalist, that said, but it doesn't necessarily mean collectivism by any stretch. And same thing with religion. Again, we just disagree on definitions. There are right-wing collectivist movements. Fascism is often considered that, even though they were the National Socialists, whatever. But, details. The other thing, too, and I got to be very grateful to Charlie Kirk, and I want to play this. This is Julie Kelly and Charlie Kirk talking about the January 6 pardons. So to this regard, I am eternally grateful to Charlie Kirk. And it's devastating that he lost his life, but in a big way, he kind of gave me mine back.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Email us as always, freedom@charliekirk.com. It is a new era. It is a golden era for America. I won't go into too much of the details here, but I think I'll just mention this. Julie Kelly and I were on the phone together with the president last week about this topic of January 6th. We won't say any more than that, but we got Julie and I reconnected. She has the president's respect. She knows this topic better than anybody else. Julie, welcome back to the program.
Hey, Charlie, what an amazing day yesterday. And thank you for your help with this historic decision, courageous decision that the president made. It's really amazing to see the videos on X of people being released from federal prison after all these years. So thank you. And thank you to the president for including me in that process. And I hope we can toast in person one of these days, Charlie.
Yes, and Julie, you deserve a lot of credit. You were the president was making his whole final decisions, and you were very persuasive for him. Let's just put it that way. So,
yeah, and I know Charlie Kirk was a big advocate of releasing the January 6ers. In fact, I remember after Trump won the election, I think it was within a day or two, Charlie Kirk said, "Okay, next thing we got to get all the J6ers their pardons," and it was a huge thing of hope for my family. And I got to say, right up until the week of the election, I've heard multiple reports, including this one, they were debating on what to do as far as pardons and how far to go or not go. And apparently the debate was like, should we go through case by case and look at this? And I guess some cases were shown to Trump that were violent cases. And he looked at them and went, what? Like mine, pushed a gate. Okay. Is that assault? You know what I mean? All right. Maybe in a technical letter of the law. Like I'm not, look, man, I didn't go litigate my case.
So in response to what Pritzker said a little bit, after they released all these January 6th, people like yourself, what happened to all those people? And, because if they're super violent and thugs, wouldn't they just want to go back and start some more revolution?
No, for the most part, we've been, unemployed, trying to find our way, can't pass a background check, trying to get gun rights back, get off the no-fly list. A lot of guys are, homeless, living off charity. They're really kind of, from what I see, because I follow a lot of them on the social media, struggling.
Yeah, that was the word that I was waiting for you to say. They're struggling mentally, like physically. Some of them have ended their struggle.
Yeah, some suicides.
Yeah, and these are not
one killed by a cop on the side of the road in I think Illinois, right? Because the cop was like, "Hey, you're driving. You don't. What was it? A suspended driver's license." He's like, "I just got out of prison last."
So what I'm trying to do is draw a little parallel that's hard to draw because you won't see it because it's not a thing. These January 6 people, they're not the violent thugs that Pritzker's trying to say that they are, and they're in no way. Are they anywhere near the same type of people as the Democrats want to keep letting out? I mean, are we going to just keep letting criminals onto the street and then we're going to call the January 6 people those people?
Exactly.
No,
because this is what shaved hair lady on MSNBC, Joy Reid was like, "Oh, and Donald Trump's about to set to pardon 1,500 violent insurrectionists, and they're going to be out at your local Walmarts, and they're going to be interacting with."
Right. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking to. Is where's all the violence?
They don't exist. Now, 1,500 people, are you going to have a couple yahoos with priors? And
sure,
absolutely. Especially coming out of prison, is someone going to maybe struggle with alcoholism or something? Probably. Is there going to be outfall from that? Likely. Sure. You know what I mean? Like, listen, that was 4 years of hell.
Right.
Okay. It was 4 years of listening to the president, and every single day on the news, they tied something into January 6th, and somehow we instigated the violence.
They're acting like
forgetting about 2020.
What they're acting like, though, is that this, Charlie Kirk got shot, and they're acting like it was a J6 guy that did it.
No, and the reality is, people,
because they're the violent ones.
Oh yeah, because we're exactly.
Because so are we out there like targeting Joy Reid and whoever?
This is how stupid the left is in trying to understand the MAGA movement and the right movement. They're super stupid.
That's what I'm saying.
Remember, Deborah Birx, right, was like, oh, out in the rural areas, they don't have doctors, so they went to their veterinarians, and that's why they got prescribed ivermectin.
That's the stupidest.
You're retarded. There was not one American living in rural America that went to a veterinarian to treat COVID. Okay, not one. And if you find one, they're retarded, and I'll tell them to their face. Bring that word back. That didn't happen. But you thinking that happened on such a scale.
Right.
No. That was a complete media narrative.
Like the farmers don't know what ivermectin's for at Cenex.
Yes.
Hello.
Exactly. You know how sophisticated you have to be to figure out the horse dosage to the human dosage? It wasn't happening.
This is how it is. You go like this. I gotta eat this.
It wasn't happening at any scale, right? But they just think it is. Well, it's the same thing with this movement on MSNBC. I think it was MSNBC when this first was reported that Charlie had been shot. Like, we don't know what happened. It could have been one of his supporters just randomly firing off a gun at the crowd. Oh yeah, because
sure.
in celebrate, and they think they use the word celebration. I'm like, yeah, because MAGA college students are so redneck. They show up in overalls with double shooters.
I was just like where it's a wedding in the Middle East.
Yes, like a wedding in the Middle East. That's not what's going on. The reality is Charlie Kirk called it. He said this is going to get rough.
At the core of the left, at the core of a liberal, is someone that would use the sword if they had it. They are very violent people at their core. They always have been. They can't debate. They can't have conversation. So they'll resort to these tactics. They're going to do everything they possibly can to try to murder this movement because they can't beat us. So they're going to try to take weapons. And no, we're very aware of that. I'm aware of it. We have to have full-time security. This is not a joke. This is who these people are. At the core of the left.
At the core of
a liberal
is someone who's willing to do violence. That is kind of a definition of it. It's the collective over self to the point of self-immolation, to the point of self-cannibalism, right? They cannibalize society for a short-term gain. Okay, so at Random Independent said J6 insurrectionists and insurrection supporters. I said, yeah, like me. And then he mentions, that very interesting take on the the guy on the highway. I'm pretty sure he literally pulled a gun on the cop. And I am responding. He said the words, I am going to kill myself when he was shot. He wasn't pulling on a gun on a cop. He was going to kill himself because, as he stated, I don't want to go back to prison. That was a direct quote from that. So, yeah, he did not pull a gun on a cop. It was actually the very opposite. He pulled a gun on himself in an attempt to kill himself and then was shot in the back. So he got what he asked for. He got suicide by cop, and he didn't have to go back to prison. So, yeah, unless you've been to prison, unless you've lived that, and he, by the way, went into a higher security level than I did. Right?
You don't know what
you don't want to go back.
You don't know what the decision he's making
You
is.
don't know the decisions he's making. You don't know. It's like I'd rather die on the side of the road than go fight off prison rape and fight off prison fights and racial stuff like that. It's horrible. I can't even go into the depth of it because, like I said, the hurt only goes so deep, and I compartmentalize some of that stuff. Every now and then I'll think of a story and I try to make it funny because if you don't laugh, you cry. Right? So yeah, interesting stuff. Elizabeth Warren over here, she's being asked about, should we tone down the rhetoric? Oh, no, look at the president.
Oh, please.
I don't know why do we not have audio here?
I don't know.
Oh, please.
Just bad audio.
Guess so. He says, oh, please, right? She goes, why don't you start with the president of the United States and all of his memes? Yeah, some people don't like the president's memes. Sorry. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. Charlie Kirk also had another problem, and this is where, in my opinion, I'm not going to blame the left. I'm blaming the left, but I'm not going to ascribe a specific person until we have a target. Like I've heard people say, is this some tranny hater? This is, Charlie Kirk says all kinds of stuff. If you hate Christianity, you're going to hate Charlie Kirk. If you love collectivism and hate capitalism, you're going to hate Charlie Kirk, right? He stood for certain sets of values. Mm-hmm. He wanted to debate those values. He wanted to change minds. He was open, but he also, his openness led him down a road that kind of put him at odds with some of his sponsors. Did you know this?
No.
Led him down a road that put him at odds with some of his sponsors. For years and years and years, Charlie Kirk has been an adamant Israel supporter. In fact, he even mentions in one of these clips, and I knew this about him before, he even celebrated the Sabbath on Saturday, right? He was very much a messianic Christian in many ways. But that doesn't mean he wasn't critical of the Jewish political state, Israel.
Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. Now, I don't like generalizations. Not every Jewish person believes that. But it is true. The Anti-Defamation League was part and parcel with Black Lives Matter. It is true that some of the largest financiers of left-wing anti-white causes have been Jewish Americans. They went all in on woke, and it wasn't just ADL. It was some of the top Jewish organizations in the country that have done that. In fact, we have seen this with the recent retreat of Jewish donations that are no longer going to be administered to colleges, right? Mark Rowan, Leon Kopperman. Can we get that full list? Very powerful. The part of so that's totally true. And by the way, Tucker Carlson reinforces this. So I'm going to it was quite a day on the internet. Tucker Carlson was interviewing Candace Owens. We have Candace Owens coming up next hour. And Tucker Carlson mentions that Jewish Americans have primarily been financing cultural Marxist ideas. We said this, by the way, last week, and people came after us. We were on top of it. We actually said it in a different way. We said, I'm glad that Jewish Americans are reconsidering their financing of cultural Marxism. And people misunderstood it intentionally and slandered us as being anti-Semites. But listen to this. Tucker Carlson is completely correct by saying this, that the philosophical foundation of anti-whiteness has been largely financed by Jewish donors in the country.
And that is the truth, by the way. And Jewish people are behind a lot of the pornography industry and a lot of stuff. Not trying to go full Kanye on you. There's reasons for that, aside from just their ideology or whatever. Okay. But there's also this. Charlie Kirk got pretty honest with Megyn Kelly.
And I will say this. The behavior by a lot, both privately and publicly, are pushing people like you and me away. Not like we're going to be pro-Hamas. Not like we're going to, but we're like, honestly, the way you are treating me is so repulsive. I have text messages, Megyn, calling me an anti-Semite. I am learning biblical Hebrew and writing a book on the Shabbat. I honor the Shabbat, literally the Jewish Sabbath. I visit Israel and fight for it. And there's another article out in the Times of Israel today. I could read it on air. I was just reading before I got on. Charlie, what are you doing? Like, why are you, what am I doing? I'm sorry. Like, let's just take a step back here. Like, I'm an American citizen. Yes, I want Israel to win. Yes, I'm a Christian. But like some of the mess, and you've seen how I've been treated, Megyn, by some, not all, by some.
No, it's very irritating.
It's
been so unfair. They were coming after you after Turning Point for, among other things, that you had Dave Smith there. Dave Smith is allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented.
Though. No, you're not allowed to. It's even worse than that. Again, I just want to repeat for the fifth time. I love Israel. I want Israel to win. But my moral character is now being put into question, Megyn. Not my decisions. Not like, hey, are you doing this? Is it smart or is it dumb? But no, I am a bad person if I do this. And I could go. I mean, you saw it, Megyn. It was trending on Twitter, thousands of tweets and text messages. And if I were to be charitable and generous, I will say, the people that are attacking me are in a hyper paranoid state because they're at war, and war tends to make things black and white, and you're a hammer looking for a nail. So I'm trying to be charitable, Megyn. Literally, I'm trying to cut as much slack as I can, right? Like, okay, what would it be like if all of a sudden I'm starting to see a pattern of behavior similar to what my grandparents saw in 1930s Germany online? How would I behave? So that's like my charitable kind of overcompensation spirit. At the same time, I'm like, but it's not defensible to be dumb, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's offensive. It's offensive to those of us who have been out there defending them in many instances against critics on our own side. And now you have a couple of comments like, well, what about this? Well, has it gone on too long? Like, is it time to wrap it up? And the thing about Epstein is just so bizarre. I don't know who he was an agent for. It might have been Israel or an asset, or it might have been nobody. Yeah. But we're allowed to speculate about that. It's there's some rule. You can't go there when it comes to Israel.
Well, you and I believe that we're Americans and Americans first, period. End of story. We are citizens of this nation, okay?
That's
and
right.
Israel, we have funded, we have supported, and they're up against a sea of Islamic totalitarianism, and we should be cheering for them, right? Because they're up against barbarians and monsters, and we want them to win. However, here is Megyn Kelly and Charlie Kirk combined, probably 30 million social media followers, like pretty, right? And you and I have been holding this down, and you probably get the negative, oh, you're just shilling for Israel, whatever. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do what's right regardless of the feedback, right? But then all of a sudden, like, I host a person that I moderate the debate of, mind you, right? And I give equal time to Josh Hammer, equal time to a pro-Israel advocate, and my moral character is being put into question. And so I think it's a hyper paranoid, like, we're just going to try to, we're going to just stamp out everything type of practice. But it goes to the point where, if, for example, if I have less ability sometimes online to criticize the Israeli government without backlash than actual Israelis do. Mm-hmm. And that's really, really weird, isn't it, Megan?
So Charlie talked about this. He also talked about suspicions around the October 7th attack. He started to question Israel, and he expressed in another clip that he's like, some of them, our biggest donors at Turning Point, are Jewish, and they're telling me to knock it off. Okay. So he was nervous about how far can I go? Because he's like, I gotta, I'm seeing some things that I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. We miss Bye Bye YouTube that used to always comment for us, turn everything into a Jewish conspiracy. But anyways, I don't know. I mean, the speculation is this might have been a professional hit or something like that. I could go either way. Being a hunter myself, I've seen some people, take some pretty incredible shots at 800 yards and hit the pipe plate. You know what I'm saying? Like, make the grouping. So, a quality hunter, this is Utah. A quality hunter could have pulled this off. Typically, people on the left aren't hunters, but I really doubt this was like some far righter that took out Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, not likely. Not a chance.
Right? Not a chance. But there's also a very real possibility this was an intelligence operation. Mm-hmm. It's very scary. In fact, when we jump over into the private side, we're going to go a little bit Q on you. I'm not. I'm going to let someone else go a little Q in a clip and to talk about how significant this may or may not have been in the Q timeline of things. But either way, there was an airplane that flew off, that took off like an hour after the event, private plane, turned off its transponder, then turned it back on, and the tail number is kept private for some reason. So a lot of people are suspicious about that. Some people, online sleuths, are doing, in my opinion, kind of stupid stuff. When Charlie Kirk got shot, his shirt kind of folded and the F got under the fold. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, the F disappeared off the shirt. And the way I look at it is I see the F kind of disappeared around a fold, right, as he went back. And a lot of the people are saying his ring went from his index finger into his pinky finger. But when you look, he put his hand down. It was clearly on his ring finger. Then when he got shot, he went up and the ring moves. But what it looks like to me is the ring rotates. And so it looks like it's on his pinky because it was a big ring with a big gaudy gold ring up the big thing on top. It looks like it rotated and went down to his pinky. Okay. The other thing, too, is you see other clips of him where he plays with the ring while he's debating. He'll sit and move it from finger to finger. So it's very possible because he puts his hand down. He could have moved it and then, it doesn't matter. To me, he's dead. People are like, oh, he's not dead.
What?
Yeah, there's people saying he's not dead.
Oh, I didn't hear that one.
Oh. Okay, but there's like 9 camera angles and, everybody and their dog has made a comment. Good luck, Charlie, in the witness protection program. You're dead to us. You know what I mean? Like, you got to maintain the narrative now. So I just find that stuff crazy. Here is in MSNBC, Matthew Dowd made some comments right when Charlie Kirk the news of his assassination happened. This was despicable, and this man has been fired from MSNBC.
But following up on what was just said, he's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions.
Oh, okay. So hateful actions are put against you because you want to debate. and your hateful words. What are hateful words? I'd like it to be Christian. I'd like to have capitalism. I'd like for everybody to have equal opportunity. I don't like the fact that any group is promoted over another group. You know, I never saw Charlie Kirk, quote unquote, defending whiteness, aside from saying, you can't criticize us, just like we won't criticize you. There's an equal opportunity thing going on there. But if you're going to be like, everything that happens bad in the world is because of whites. All right, well, you open the door. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way I saw how he approached color and stuff like that. When it came to transgender things, listen, people have value sets. Get over it.
Is this guy saying that Charlie Kirk was a hate-filled man?
And so hate begets hate. That all he was doing was based from a place of hate and wanting to disenfranchise transgenders and disenfranchise minorities, right? That's the perception on the left, that all Republicans are out there trying to be tribal.
Is that what we're doing here? We're just trying to spread hate?
Probably. I mean, depends. Who's asking? Who's asking? Are you as Islamist collectivist? Sure, we hate you. I don't know. What do you want me to say, man? You know what I mean? I don't hate you as a person. I hate your ideology. You're free to hate mine, but it's not going to change me wanting to live it.
I just don't think that I could ever equate hate with Charlie Kirk.
I know, man.
It's so ridiculous.
It's when people have cognitive dissonance and they live outside of reality, then when people question their fiction, they get very defensive, because you realize the carpet's been ripped out from under you, right? You're floating in nothingness. We have no North Star. You have no direction. You have no compass. And that's what happens. It's happening all over the place. This is why youth sometimes become so disenfranchised. The world that their parents raised them up in, a world of cause and effect, of consequences, of good discipline, then they get into the school, and the modern school system, there's no North Star. Everything's relative. You want to be a boy, want to be a girl, want to chop it off, want to sew it up, whatever. We're open to whatever. There's a cognitive dissonance. Parents gave hard, solid ground rules and boundaries, and the school's like, the world's your oyster. You can be anything you want to be, princess. Right. And there's a cognitive dissonance. And then they don't know, well, if I want to be free, but I need the boundary, it creates cognitive dissonance. And it can go like that, the opposite direction. You could have a home life that's completely no boundaries, and you get structure in school. Then you start acting up in school, and, it goes back and forth. Schools and things like that create a zeitgeist that people have to live in. So if you're in a zeitgeist that says that you can pick your gender, if you're in a zeitgeist that says that Christianity is bad, but never looks into it in any kind of deep sense as to why it even exists in the first place, if you're in a, you know what I mean? And then when someone confronts you with things like, oh, how about family values? Are you really going to argue with that? Well, I won't argue with it. Well, how about, let's just be the gender that you're born. Well, I can't do that. The cognitive dissonance causes anger. Anytime someone lives out of integrity and it gets questioned, it causes you to feel uncomfortable, and people will project that out. It's totally natural. People did that to Charlie Kirk all the time, right? And there was an old quote, the transgender thing is a fascinating psychological problem. But there's this lady who was studying how transgenderism is destroying very profitable, good corporations. And they're like, what is happening here? As they put these, co-ed bathroom policies, and that creates a weird work environment, because men and women are now going into the bathroom together. And then they'll create weird work parties, and then they'll get rid of the Christmas party, and they'll opt for some secular thing, and it creates. And
then normal people are just like, I'm out.
They're like, what's going on here?
I'm going to get a job somewhere else.
Well, this one lady did some studying, and she found out that, in these corporations, what's happening is somebody on the board, the company president or the CFO or somebody has a kid who's transitioned. And so now they want to impose that worldview on everybody. And she said the most dangerous people are parents who did that to their kid because it's akin to murder. You've destroyed their lives, and they can't live with the guilt of it. So anybody who even approaches the topic saying what you did was wrong and fundamentally wrong, death. Cannot let you tell me as a parent that I did something wrong to my child.
Right.
And that is something they'll fight to the death. They'll destroy corporations over it. They'll DEI it to death and get a whole bunch of people that believe in their magical worldview, right? And absolutely destroy anything that's built by competent people. And she goes, and it's hard to identify because the kid doesn't work at the company, and the parent looks totally normal and is qualified and all this stuff. But they've adopted this fantastical worldview that says that stuff like that is okay and works out. It doesn't, right? And this is why Europe is pretty much banning it now, because enough people who had their genitals manipulated are like, hey, I'm incontinent and I can't use the bathroom. Nobody told me this would happen. Going to Parliament and testifying, they're like, we're done with it. And thankfully, America is done with it, but some people are going to live with their life decisions. Back to the Charlie Kirk thing. This is John Solomon. Late last night, he got an update about exactly what happened to Charlie Kirk and the status of the manhunt underway. They've taken 2 people into custody so far, thinking they were the shooter, and neither one of them have been the shooter. They're just other random people.
Is there anything new as we come on the air tonight at 11 minutes past 8 o'clock on the East Coast that you have learned or we should know?
Yeah, a couple pieces. They're still trying to figure out the shooter, who he was. He clearly was on a rooftop. He clearly was a long distance away outside the normal security perimeter. He was in a parapet position. He was dressed in the same color as the roof. So it was a man who appeared to have taken some time to think through and plot out this assassination. He was a decent shot. He hit Charlie in the chest of the vest, and then the bullet ricocheted from the vest up into the throat area, and that's what ultimately killed Charlie. There is some component of this that the FBI and authorities are looking at as foreign. That doesn't mean it will turn out to be foreign, but there's something that has led them down asking questions about any foreign involvement, just like they did with Butler. We don't know much what that is yet. We don't know the motive yet. I think we'll know more later tonight. I think there'll be a press conference around 10 or 11 Eastern time with an update, and that'll give us a little more information. I'll just say quickly, I've known Charlie for about a decade. I went to one of his earliest events. There were 200 kids. The last time I went to an event, there was like 10,000. I just couldn't believe in a decade what he did. I was with him 3 weekends ago in Colorado. The great Rob Sig asked me to go out and do something, and funny, I was kind of grumping, I don't want to go to Colorado on a weekend. And when I got there, I realized how blessed I was. This is way before I realized that Charlie was going to be taken from us today, because what he does is he inspires, and his defense of freedom, his passion. And at one point I said to him, hey, Charlie, I'm marveled at how much you moved the Zoomers, the Z generation, in politics. And he said, it's kind of profound. He says, I got to tell you, John, I don't want to put a hole in your balloon, but it's not that profound. It's kind of simple. I just realized that conservatives needed to have someone to stand alongside them to help them, so they weren't bullied into expressing their opinions. And that simplicity, that clarity of vision, that joyful warrior, and that stunning intellect, and that towering figure, because he really was tall. We've lost it, but we will not lose the essence of it. And they may have silenced his voice today, but they will never have silenced the movement for freedom that he began.
That's the thing, when you take out a leader like this, their movement becomes democratized. Other people pick up and carry the torch. And that's what I believe will happen here. We will forever miss Charlie Kirk. We will forever miss Rush Limbaugh. We'll forever miss many of the people who've influenced us over the years, because everybody's time eventually comes. But if you did it right, if you were in flow, you're doing what God put you on earth to do, it feels natural. Charlie Kirk expressed all the time, it wasn't hard for him to do it. When you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, it doesn't feel hard. It is hard, might look hard, might be a big lift. It's not easy to run Turning Point USA, but he was doing what he was clearly intentioned to do.
Yeah, and what John Solomon was talking about there, about him being so inspirational and giving people a voice, I really feel like that it was so inspirational that it was untenable for the evil people on the left or wherever they're from. They just couldn't deal with it anymore. They were like, this guy is too good at moving the needle for inspiration, inspiring people to do good. We can't have that.
And he had another solid 50 years to go.
Yeah. I mean, this
50
guy,
years.
He could have been president someday.
Absolutely. That's how I found out about him. Candace Owens on Joe Rogan's podcast says, you don't know Charlie Kirk? He's going to be president someday.
Yeah.
And he's not the first person that people thought that about. He was very good and very competent at what he did. Very, very good. Senator Mullins was on CNN with Caitlin Collins, and he was addressing this, and he calls out something that I've observed too. He says, you don't see a lot of this quote unquote violence coming from Christians. It's usually directed at the Christians. Now, a random independent who might be listening, I'm not saying there's never been a Christian that has used Christian ideology for violence. That's not the case. But on aggregate, yeah, it doesn't show up in the statistics very much.
I don't mean to make this political at all, but I feel like the Christian values and Christians are under attack, because the same people that said that they feel threatened by traditional values, by Christian values, are now the same people that seem like they're attacking those that they disagree with politically and religiously. And once again, I just use this for example for the last 2 horrific cases, but you don't see Christians going out there shooting up churches and schools and trying to assassinate political enemies. There was no assassination attempt on President Obama or President Biden. There was no assassination attempt on any of our Democrat colleagues. I don't mean to make this political at all, but
it's true. Go rattle off the last half dozen mass shootings and political assassinations. I can't think of one of them that came from a Christian, someone that professed that. In fact, it came from people that were openly hostile to it. Almost every time. It is very difficult for a Christian to overcome the murder complex. Christians don't necessarily have a problem killing, right? It's not like you can't go to war. It's not like you can't do things like that. It's not that they're opposed to using force to do what they consider right by any means. But the idea of a one-off killing, not something that comes to most Christians' minds, right?
It's not on my bucket list because I want to go to heaven.
Most Christians don't walk around wanting to be an assassin. That's kind of limited to the Da Vinci Code movies where you have some real zealot or something like that. It's not like the commonest thing, So, and they're pretty isolated. The Christians that do that, we call them Jesuits. They kind of have their own little thing going on. But again, it's not the Christians. Right. And it doesn't necessarily because they're Christian. No, it's just the ideology, the thought process, the value system of Christianity doesn't support that. It's not part of the base program.
If you live
There's
by
no
the
jihad.
10 Commandments, eventually you inculcate that into who you are, and you just are a good person. That's the whole point of being a Christian, is to become good.
Yeah. Now, I will say this, and again, when the left will take an event like this and then they want to go gun grab, or they want to take it and parlay it into another thing that might be unrelated, right? It's tangentially related, but it's unrelated. This is going to be the same thing for the right. So a random independent, this is me giving you the props, right? We're trying to see it with clear eyes. Can it happen on both sides? Yes. So this is Laura Logan, who I love dearly. Okay. Laura Logan is awesome. And she's very upset about this Charlie Kirk thing, as she should be, but she makes a leap. It's not a leap that I wouldn't make, right? She's making a leap saying she wants to see accountability for Brennan, Comey, Clapper, et cetera, for the Charlie Kirk killing. There's no direct connection right now other than maybe possibly the shooter shares an ideology. But what if it ends up being an Israeli assassin? Then it has nothing to do with this group.
I'll tell you what the connection is. The connection is this is a big enough event that it could possibly overshadow other events in the what we're trying to accomplish.
Yes.
And she doesn't want it to be overshadowed.
And exactly. So I'm just giving the facts.
And I haven't even seen the clip.
Listen, if we could get rid of every gun on the planet, then we would solve gun violence, but then there would be a rise in knife violence, right? Violence is violence. And so anyways, she's making the connection here, and this is just me calling a spade a spade. This is the starting point. This is where things start to get really serious from the conservatives, where they go, if we don't stop it now, it's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. Trump had 2 assassination attempts. There have been other things that have happened as well, right? You've got Ed Martin getting spit in his face. You've got all these. That doesn't happen to Maxine Waters. She doesn't get spit on. That doesn't happen to Elizabeth Warren. Okay, someone, hey, Pocahontas. Okay, sticks and stones, break my bones. But when you're actually assaulting and doing those kind of things, it's a different story.
The news and videos of Charlie Kirk being shot at the rally in Utah, I just feel moved, both personally because I know Charlie, and I know how much he loves his wife and his beautiful young family, and all the many people whose lives he's changed and touched by creating Turning Point USA, by giving a voice to conservatives on campus, by standing up for principle and for integrity and for God. And I just want to say, Charlie, I love you. And so grateful for all that you do. This is a rough moment. But as always, I just want to say to people that these are the moments that define us. Be smart. Don't play into their hands. This is obviously not whoever they, pin this on as the shooter. This is not the only person who was responsible. This is obviously part of a planned operation. One of the obvious goals would be to incite hatred and unrest and violence and civil war. And what would be the ultimate objective of something like that? It would be to derail accountability. The response to this should not be weakness. the response I would like to see from this is door-to-door arrests of all the people involved in treason and sedition, from the John Brennans to the Susan Rices to the James Clappers to the Comeys to the Avril Haines, to all of the people involved in betraying this country and undermining the will of the American people. It is now time to act. And that does not mean rise up and play into their hands. It doesn't mean anything like that. It does not mean be weak. It does not mean turn the other cheek. It means stand and be heard, stand for principle, demand action, and be united. Don't let these things divide us, because we are one nation under God, and we are praying for Charlie, and we're praying for his family. And I'm praying in this moment for this nation.
So what do you think the chances are that this was a Mossad operation? Okay. And that's a good enough answer. And so, oh, you can't hear me? Oh, I'm sorry.
Who? What? I don't know. I've never heard of Mossad. What are you talking about?
So anyway,
here's the thing. It's always hard. It'd be the lone wolf shooter is so easy. It's so, it's just a guy hated Charlie. He was radicalized by somebody. Well,
here's my point. Here's my point is what I'm afraid of is that she's exactly right. You know, they wanted to get rid of this special conservative voice, this voice for morality, voice for reason, voice for, discussing things, family values. And by killing him so openly, publicly like this, it was also to generate an incitement of violence to get people fomented, against each other. And if that doesn't work, they might try it again. So who's next? And Laura Logan,
she's been right about pretty much everything.
Well, and she sits in the seat of who could be next.
Yeah.
And like us and whoever else is talking about freedom and so she's not wrong. And I'm afraid that if the incitement doesn't happen right away, they're going to kill somebody else to try to make it happen. They're going to try to make it happen.
It also shows end stage desperation.
Yeah.
If this is a lone wolf, it is what it is.
A lone wolf like Crook that can't hit the side of a barn.
Legit lone wolf. I don't know what that looks like, man. I don't think Crook's worked alone. I don't think
he did either, but that's the rhetoric that gets it.
Yeah, totally. So the question is, okay, if they show us a lone wolf, all right, I guess we'll see what that looks out to be. Either way, he's acting in a larger political narrative, no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everybody's always playing, you're rhetoric. These are independent choices people make. But the possibility of this being an organized hit, I'll tell you why I think that.
Mm-hmm.
I was working for a client that she used to be a intelligence officer for the Air Force, and her last position in the Air Force was working at the Pentagon, walking over to Capitol Hill every single day and briefing senators and representatives on whatever the du jour topic of the day coming out of the Pentagon was. Top secret briefings all day long, every day on Capitol Hill. She was a Biden supporter. She was very left oriented. Okay. She was retired. They said they'd seen enough, and now they were buying a farm, and that's how I came to work for them, doing their land work, right?
Okay.
And I thought it was really fascinating. And when conservatives retire and want to get away, and they've seen enough, they go to Idaho. Democrats come to Washington, well, whatever. So to get away, and I'm like, you just jumped into the frying pan, lady. So anyway, she said this, and it was very casual. She was sitting in her truck. I was standing outside, and we'd been talking for quite a while, and her husband was there. He was a former pilot and worked at DARPA.
Okay.
So she goes, something got mentioned. She goes, I hate Marjorie Taylor Greene. I was like, okay. She goes, from an intelligence perspective, if we were to do something, she would be the first person we took out.
What? What?
That's what she said. She said it just like that. She would be the first person we would take out. And I was like, is this like a thing? right? When you learn about color revolutions in other countries, some of the military guys in line are like, oh yeah, that was a military assassination. Like that was precision. You know what I mean? Like guy got away. Other shooters, we find the shooter, the patsy, right? Yeah. This one off into the wind. Looks like a hit. Her phrase echoes in my ear. She'd be the first person we'd take out. She could have put Charlie Kirk in there. Yeah. Marjorie Taylor Greene is effective too. Representative Luna, Burkhart, Massey's had his moments. Rand Paul goes against the big machine, right? Who are you going to take out first based on your interest? It was inconceivable to me that here is a former military officer who's so partisan, she would entertain in her mind that the first person they would take out as an intelligence agency trying to steer the country,
an American citizen,
Marjorie Taylor Greene. So could this be an operation? Abso-freaking-lutely. And the fact that the shooter has gotten away even thus far is proof that the odds are getting better and better by the minute.
Well, and then John Solomon mentioned that he was wearing the same outfit color as the roof. It's like,
Now, someone else, people have been doing lots of video sluicing, and there's an image of someone up on a roof, kind of laying there. But there's also another image of someone like in the parking garage dealio here, dressed up in full battle rattle. We're talking like helmet, scope, and he's leaned over like this. And some people are like, this might be the shooter. Might not have been up on the roof. It might have been down a little lower. Anyways, I don't know. Right. It's not my business. They're going to figure all that out. I'm not going to be the guy that's going on these super deep dives trying to prove that Charlie Kirk's still alive or anything. Functionally, he's dead. So
yeah,
I hate to say it any different than that. What?
The only part that we care about is that he's dead. I mean,
yeah, he's passed.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll be doing any more rallies. Okay, so this is Jack Posobiec and Steve Bannon in their reaction to it. Now, keep in mind, Jack Posobiec and Charlie Kirk were very good friends. They co-hosted a show together and were legitimately walking buddies, like friends.
Tell me again about, Posobiec and Bannon and the rhetoric. Oh, the rhetoric. You're so upset. Oh, because I used the word unhumans. Yeah, what word would you ascribe to an act like this? It's unhuman. Okay? That's what we're living through. You think I want to do this with my time? You think I got kids? You think I want to be here? This is what you have done to our country.
Exactly.
And what comes next is on you too.
And we're not going to back off an inch. Anybody think if you're going to back off, then this is not for you. Charlie Kirk gave his life for our country. He's on the battlefield of political combat. Okay. And they cut him down with an assassin's bullet. Let's be blunt about this. They cut him down with an assassin's bullet.
Tell me again.
When I was in prison, one of the guys that was in there, Matt, he was former military intelligence. And he said, he's like, man, they're doing this to us. He's like, the next step is putting us up against the wall and shooting us. This is the next step from where we're at in this imprisoning thing. He's like, because right now they can just silence you, but as soon as they lose the ability to get the narrative out, which by the way, TV ratings are down, podcasting's up, their ability to get the narrative out and control the message is waning and waning. And he said, as soon as they can't control the message, the next step is total elimination. It's interesting. Interesting perspective as an intelligence officer.
Can't say that stuff around my wife.
Yeah, making that note. Yeah, exactly. The best thing is to be uninteresting. That's why it's so great to have such a small audience. We love you guys. Please don't share the show. Don't do what I told you. I said earlier, hit the like button, but don't do it.
Taylor. The reason that it's so triggering to my wife is because she knows, just like what Bannon was talking right there, you can't back down. You can't.
Cannot.
You have to stand on principle. You have to stand for the morality that you believe is to be true.
Yeah. Now, the mainstream news is worried that Trump's going to use this crisis to expand his power.
Because as we were just talking about a moment ago with Alan, after one of the Doge employees was allegedly attacked in Washington, D.C., that's what Donald Trump used as justification to send in federal troops into Washington, D.C. to get things under control. The carjacking situation, he used that. And I know it's hard to predict the future, Mark, but you can imagine the administration using this as a justification for something.
I must admit, I'm at a loss to guess as to what happens next. But Kirk,
because
so they're worried that Trump's going to use this to do something. I think he will. Something we're going to have to be prepared for with a good cup of coffee, because I think that things are going to start changing rapidly.
Well, maybe we should talk about coffee just as a break here for a second. So still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped over only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus, no crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin free and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a golden spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. A frother strong enough to stir up the coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions. And a black 1775 tumbler, $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This isn't one you've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does.
Woohoo! Gotta love it. All right. So now that we've had our coffee, our nice 1775 coffee, let's see what Donald Trump has to say. He put out this video message yesterday. It's 4 minutes, but it's the president of the United States responding to the death of one of his biggest supporters, and I believe someone who became a genuine friend. I know that Don Jr. and Charlie Kirk became very, very close, like big brother, little brother kind of close. So this is Donald Trump responding to it.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God. Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country. An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed, because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will live on for countless generations to come. Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close. May God bless his memory. May God watch over his family. And may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
So I think they're right on the news. I think Trump's going to use this to go deep. So buy Code Pink, buy Open Society Foundation, buy... I think you're going away.
Yeah, I hope so.
So you said it was about the minute mark?
Yes.
Oh, look at that. There's a peak where most people replay it. Look at that. Okay, so this right here is Charlie Kirk. Ron wanted me to play this. This is Charlie Kirk reacting to Trump finding out Trump was elected.
Yeah. Just look at his face.
Let's do this, baby.
Woo! It's not really important what they're saying.
Let's go.
There it is.
Clean up. All right.
Ah, the
Let's
run
go.
on.
You know what's funny is my wife watched this podcast
Oh my
on
gosh.
election night. She
This almost seems a little surreal.
Everybody should
say that again.
So last night, my son came in and he was like, "Who's Charlie Kirk?" She showed a picture of him. She's like, "Oh, that's who we watched on election night."
Yeah.
Because my wife watched Charlie Kirk's stream on election night. So when she found out that Trump won, it was this scene that she was watching. I've never seen it. She told me about it on the phone. And, you know, millions of Americans, and I know my wife and kids were doing what Charlie's wife was doing to him. They were self-embracing.
Right.
That was such a big moment.
So I wanted you to play. I'm sorry. I wanted to play this moment because I had not seen it either, but I watched it last night. And when I saw, you know, the look in his face of, you know, like joy and excitement and fulfillment and like, hey, look, we did it. And he had this, I could tell he had this feeling like, I can't believe that we actually pulled it off. You know, like Trump's president. I can't believe it. We did it, you know, and he was such a big part of that.
Yeah.
He was such a big part of helping Trump get reelected. And it was like, we got to play this moment because it was a moment that I want to have too. I want to feel like I was able to contribute and to make something, push something up the hill like he was able to do. And even in the face of not believing that it's going to happen, you know, you still have to push for what you believe. And he just had a moment there of celebration of, look, we actually were able to accomplish it. That's the same kind of feeling and celebration that I want to have on the back end of all this podcast bullshit. You know, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I want us to have, you know, a free and open society where people can celebrate and whatever differences they have, but I want to be able to live free.
Yeah.
With my values. And I think that was a moment right there where Charlie Kirk experienced a victory, a celebration moment in his heart. And I saw that come across the screen just so well. And I wanted to play that.
Yeah. What a beautiful part. Finish playing it here. Very beautiful moment.
Where you were when you realized that the Uniparty and all of these, you know, just the establishment, they did not expect this. And Charlie, you should have emotion. This is a moment. You totally reformed the GOP. You totally said, listen, we can't forfeit the mail-in ballot. You said it's time to actually participate. And look what you guys have done. Brett, what you're doing in Wisconsin. Charlie, what you're doing in Arizona. I mean, everybody across the country. Jack Posobiec, you were crazy enough to think we could win Pennsylvania? A kid from Norristown?
The fact that it was Pennsylvania, man.
And let me give some credit to some incredible activists too, because there's a history that's going to be told for a long time. But I mean, look, Pennsylvania.
They went on. They did. The Turning Point had such a good ground. They had accusations of they're just taking the money. They're not doing anything. They're being blown away by the Democrats. Well, we won. Boop. So whatever we did worked. Yeah, that was a great moment. All right, guys, that's it for the show today. I appreciate all the chatter online, Anti-Socialist League. It is on us to continue the movement. God, family, freedom. Taylor, Ron, we are blessed to have you. Your contribution is appreciated by all peasants. Thank you very much. Ron and I both, I remember the morning when I was debating in my head if I wanted to continue the podcast. I'd hit my goal of 100 episodes. I'd been doing it by myself early in the morning. And Ron one day showed up in the parking lot and he's like, hey, I hear you're doing a podcast. Yeah, you want to be here tomorrow? I put a microphone in his face and he's been here ever since. And we've been through a lot. I mean, the 4 years, the indictment, the prison time, and then coming back, and Ron was like, let's do it. Ron almost didn't hesitate. He almost didn't hesitate to say, let's do it again. And, you know, this is bigger than us. We understand. We know our audience size. We watch it every day. We know we're not huge, but we also know the power of compound interest. We know the power of putting the words out there, of putting the message out there. And we're imperfect messengers, but there's that moment. There's those clips. You guys come back every day because you enjoy it and you're getting something from it. And I don't have any plan on stopping. No. Right. And we rely on you guys to help the show grow. We do not plow back money into it. We don't have money to plow back into it. We don't pay for sponsorships. We don't pay for we read sponsorships, like, you know, to get a couple bucks. Literally, it's pennies that we're earning. We're just checking off the requirement list. Otherwise, it wouldn't be worth doing them.
Yeah, I think I made 23 cents on that last read, Pete.
Woo! Yeah, 23 cents. So we're not doing it for the money, clearly. We're doing it for the message and the purpose. And it's no different today than the day Ron met me in the parking lot and was like, hey, I want to see how you're doing it. Okay. We're happy to be here. We're glad you guys are here. Don't forget to repost the show, share the show, like the show, all the fun stuff. And we're going to jump over to the private side and we are going to hear a Q angle on all this. Okay. It's kind of interesting. It's worth listening to. So those of you